didn't talk much about the Archons yesterday. I know a lot of people like learning about Archons. They're curious about it. And it's just because it's like buzzwords. People say shit about it. But from what I learned, I'm going to do this many times and I'll do it again. What I learned was 36 Archons. This 36 was a female. These Archons were demons of lesser progression according to what I learned from Terence McKenna and the shit I learned I got because of what he said where he read it. And he says very clearly too in this that there's many different ways and stories of how this works. There's some straightforward stories of how it is, and there's some Baroque, is how he explains it, which I don't really understand what that means. But there's some, how I interpret it, and some a moral way of looking at it, or like an immoral way of looking at how creation was started in an attempt to teach mankind the dangers of trying to do things, blah, 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 blah. Now, I'm not a Gnostic, nor do I believe in these Archons, but I have this sneaking suspicion that anything that can give us power, anything we can call on, whether it's Sophia, that 36th Archon, whether it's the goddess Sophia, who is goddess of wisdom, or its Greek or Roman counterpart, and even Egyptian counterpart, and even Norse counterpart, and any other counterpart. Like those are the ones I stick to because those are the ones I know best. It doesn't mean I haven't studied some different Chinese, Japanese, Vietnamese. I'm going with like people, as you can see, like I'm going with Greek people, Roman people, Egyptian people, not religions, because religions get skewed. Mythologies by people also can get skewed and fucked up. The minute something gets too radical, if someone tries to change the mythologies, the people are like, no, that's not right. And then that's when organized religion sometimes comes in and says, okay, switch it all up. But like an example of Abraham and Sarah versus Zeus. Zeus goes around fucking whoever he wants. Make it, doesn't give a fuck. Son of a bitch. Sorry about that. My cherry fell off my smoke and burned almost my cock. Fuck me, man. Oh shit. My wife would be so pissed if I put a fucking hole in this leather fucking seat. Fuck, man. Oh, wow. That wakes you up faster than coffee in the morning. Sorry, now my dick would be right. It was right to the left of my fucking left nut, man. That was fucking close. Holy shit. Ooh, I'm a little worried right now. Oh. Anyways, okay, shake it off. Alright. So Zeus goes around, fucking Zeus is like, don't talk about me like that. Fucking Hera's listening, but she's gonna smack me. Don't fucking talk about me. Fucking all these goddesses. Don't keep reminding her. We're all listening here, dog. You're keeping us alive. That's my job. Anyways, so sorry, Zeus, please don't burn me again. I'm Joe saying this now. So Zeus does what he wants to do without looking back, without whatever. He gets caught. Everything happens for a reason. Who knows? Zeus isn't portrayed as this all-knowing, malevolent god all the time. He is the god of God, the king of kings, and all that shit. Yeah, sure. But he's not without his flaws. And one thing about Jupiter that I've learned, one of correspondences, is there's no such thing as too much of something. It's one of his flaws. You can say, well, that's great. Give me more money. Yeah, that is great. More money's great. More poverty, more debt, more cancer, more money issues, more health issues, more psychological issues, more house degrading issues, you know what I mean? There's not, whatever you dwell on, he will amplify. So if you're fucking dwelling on sex, you want to have sex with all these goddesses like he has, so there's no such thing as too much. I think that's an interesting concept because the Greek mythology lets the stories. Sorry about that. I don't know if this is going to turn off or not. It's probably going to turn off in a second, so just bear with me. It didn't turn off yet. Okay. So the mythologies, the Greek mythologies anyways, let the stories speak for themselves and you extract the message from it, which is what I like. Versus like an organized religion tells you what the message is. Tell you the story, and then they have to go and tell you how to think about it, and that's not cool. I rather learn the message from the actions of the person, or of the being, or like Zeus. Like I learned that Jupiter, in one of his correspondences, this is through astrology, is it's not too much of a good thing. So if Jupiter's in your chart, like mine for example, he's a Pisces in my chart. I take on people's energy very easily. You know what I mean? That also helps me in a few different ways. Spiritually, Pisces is like one of those signs that's in between the worlds, so it's easier for me to connect to spirit, divine, whatever, and get information from it. It's very easy for me to pull that out. That's the good thing about it. The bad thing about it is, from around people, I take on their energies very easily. And once again, to Jupiter, there's no such thing as too much. It's like, I'll just take on all these energies, it doesn't matter. Just like, I'll take on all these fucking thoughts from all these spirits all at once for you. And it's like, fuck, man, I feel like I'm crazy sometimes. It's not easy. But once you know this, then you take Jupiter on his day or on his hour, and any day if you're having a hard time. If the things I just said correspond to you, or you feel that, or even if you don't know your chart, or whatever the case is, fuck, man, that's like almost bang on for me. Like I feel like that's sometimes all these thoughts coming in my head over and over and over again, all these ideas, and yet like everything's going good. There's no reason for me to think about this shit. Well, first of all, I can tell you get reject banished to know all the thoughts you don't want to play out, whether it's like people cheating on you, or you're going crazy, or like I have this stupid luxury, I guess, the idiocy that I am, but did a lot of drugs in my lifetime. Cocaine to the point where I'm paranoid, thinking cops are going to rush in the door at any moment, when there's no reason to really feel like it. So I know how these overwhelming thoughts can come into your mind. Not to mention that I've been completely sober before and having same kind of anxiety was what most people would call it, some kind of anxiety. You have all these thoughts of something bad about to happen when there's no reason for that. Sometimes, okay, you're worried about bills because your pay wasn't that big, or you missed a few days, or you think your boss is going to fire you because he wants to have a meeting with you and you haven't been doing a great job. Well, then your anxiety is provoked, and it's probably justifiable. But when everything's going great and you start being anxious for no reason and you have all these crazy thoughts in your head, that's something different. So first line of defense, reject, banish, deny, and then accept the things you want that are the opposite of what you don't want to happen. After that, candle magic. I can't overstate it. It's the simplest magic to do. You don't necessarily even need to do it in a ritual setting, although it amplifies it like tremendously. But you can literally, for me, I've been doing this for years now, right? So your best bet would be to start doing this every day. And if you think I'm full of shit, then that's fine. Just light a candle every day, ask for something to happen while you're learning a new system. It's not hard. Let the candle burn down. It's not hard. Don't think about it at all. Just let it be. Take all the information that I've given you, but just let it be. Let it burn down. Put your fucking intention right on it. If you want to amplify it, put a sigil on it with the intention instead. This way it's already a symbol. And it's not trying to get this big statement of intent in you, right? But nonetheless, a lot of words in a statement of intent can literally mean, like, I walked to the corner store. You can show a picture of you, Stickman, and the C-store, you know what I mean? And get that all out of that. The symbol is way more powerful than all those words are. That's kind of what I mean, right? The picture shows you, whereas the words, some people have trouble corresponding, some people have trouble interpreting, some people have trouble. Oh man, Zeus is in me hard today. That's another thing. I got Zeus and Pisces. I don't know what that means, but I feel like Zeus someday, and all these beautiful women around. It's very hard not to look and think and want to act on it. And I love my wife to the core, and I would never do anything like that to her. But it's damn hard, because Jesus, we're winter here. There's no skirts, there's no shorts, there's no nothing. But the pants these girls wear are as tight as they possibly can be. It's like, holy fuck, how are you supposed to remain faithful when every girl looks like it's like a 12 out of fucking 10, every single fucking one. I don't know. Guys say there's no good girls around. It's like, man, I see plenty of fucking beautiful women everywhere. What the fuck is wrong with you? But anyways, yeah, fucking just fucking Zeus, man. Just talking about him, but he's kicking my ass, Jupiter. Anyways, but yeah, if anything I just said resonated with you, with the energies and all that, people make a candle to Jupiter, saying you're so grateful that you've invoked Jupiter's shield to protect you. That you have Jupiter strengthening your aura so that no unwanted, unwanted is probably not a good word to use in the beginning. See, for me, unwanted is anything that I don't want, obviously, and it's not a good word to use because it's a negative word. So let's just scratch that whole idea. Always use positive words. Any negative words are not going to work. It's a negative. It's not going to work. This is you gotta think of it as like this is like an affirmation, for example. And I just use that in the sense of it's affirming something to the universe. You are affirmative. You're affirming that this has happened present tense for you. By doing that, if you put a negative in there, it cancels each other out. You got a positive and a negative, and it doesn't know what to do with it. Positive, when a positive and negative go against each other, it's always negative. Okay? Depends on what order it is. I think it's plus, minus, and it stays plus. And it's minus, plus. I don't know. I think it's almost always negative, to be honest. But two positives remain positive. Two negatives go to a positive as well. So we use the laws of math when it comes to affirmations. If you're going to have negative statements in there, like, I am so grateful I don't have money problems anymore. It's going to become, I'm so grateful I have money problems anymore. That's exactly what it's going to become. And anymore, maybe a negative statement. Because anymore, I don't know, I'm not positive on that one. But no more would be a negative statement. Any word that is used in, would be used with for sarcasm. I'm not going to do that. You never did that. Anything like that is a negative statement. But yeah, just put on the fucking candle that you're grateful that you strengthen your aura and you are free from taking anyone's energies that are of negativity nature. You can use negativity, not negative. And that is not a negative word because it's explaining the polarity. But I'm talking about words that have a polarity of a negative form of. See, saying something's negative is still not. My wife's back, so we have to. Alright. Okay. Recording? I hope so. Anyways, okay. Hopefully it's picking up my sound good. I'm not sure if it is or not, but let's find out. I'm gonna take a little check right here. Alright, so it is picking me up alright. Let's take a look over here. A couple things brewing on my fucking altar. As always, the day doesn't go by where I don't fuck with my altar. I do anything on my altar. Ask for the God's guidance, give an offering. But that math thing I was talking about, so -3 plus -3, you would change those two, that becomes a plus, that becomes a minus, so it's -3 minus +3 would be like 0, is what I mean by laws of math. Anyways, regardless of all that shit, no negative words in your statement of intent. And that's not just for affirmations, that's for all magic. So when I talk about affirmations, I use affirmations for my statement of intent. Now in the beginning, when I was programming my mind, and I was trying to figure out magic and find my path and all this shit, when I started ceremonial magic, all the shit I learned about doing affirmations, I took and I incorporated it into my magic. So I do witchcraft and I do ceremonial magic. Everybody knows that. Spellcraft is using spells, but it's basically making your statement of intent manifest. That is what this is. So when I started doing this, what I would do is I'd write my statement of intent down on something. Then I would turn that statement of intent into a sigil and put it on my candle. And I would do all that in a ritual ceremony, a ritual exercise, whatever the case was, to all my Kabbalistic cross and the lesser banishing of the pentagram and then the middle pillar and all that. And then in the middle of the rite, I would put all the emotion and say I'm grateful for this thing happening, which is exactly what my statement of intent was, right? Which is not an affirmation, but it will be. And then after all my whole rite, let that candle burn down, blah, 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 blah. Hold on a second. After I let my candle burn down and all that, that same statement of intent that I already have written down, I will record it on a recording device or on my phone whichever the case was. And sometimes I would say it the same statement, just different ways, you know, to cover all different avenues, bind down the action not wanted. That would be my affirmation. And instead of saying these affirmations all day long, I would listen to them. Most of the time would be right before bed and right when I woke up, when your mind is already in that theta state, where it's the easiest time to get something into the subconscious mind. This is how to properly do affirmations, okay? But can I tell you, it is the affirmations that manifested? Was it the ritual magic? Was it the sigil I put on the candle? Was it doing the actual rite? Or was it me listening to those affirmations over and over and over and over and over again in my head? It doesn't matter. I used it all together, and I know that way works. So if you want to be like, well, I don't want to do all that, I'm just going to pick one, well, then you can. And I'm sure if you pick the ritual magic away, that's probably your best bet. That's doing symbolism right into your mind. You are the symbol of what you want to go in your mind by you stating what you want, having that sigil on that candle. All this is like the symbolic language to get it into your mind. But I use all these things together. Why the fuck not? If you're really serious about changing your life, if you really want to make change and you really want to see if this stuff works, do everything at the same time. And this way you can't lose and you program yourself that much faster. That's what stacking magic is. It's doing all these different types of magic. You can add water magic to that, you know, writing. If it's wealth you're trying to get into your life, you write wealth on the fucking water. Let it sit there for a few days. Leave it near your candle. Okay, always have a white candle going. If you can do that safely, there's many wealthy people in the world that always have one white candle going in their house at all times. It's said to keep the watchers there. The watchers like pyrotechnics. They like fire. So if there is such thing as the watchers or just the spirits in general, they like fire, right? They're very drawn to fire. Us as humans were the same way. That's why candles have always been associated with the occult and darkness and black magic and blah, 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 blah. But point is, keeping a white candle there going all the time keeps these spirits, these watchers, whatever you want to call them, there watching. Therefore, if you have a bottle on there with something, word on it that you want to manifest, they're seeing that. And then what do you do with that? Like every other magic, like the candle burning down with your intention on it. Your intention, you wrote on the bottle, wealth or financial prosperity or whatever the case is. Try to keep it one word, 2 words max. And you drink the fucking water. You get rid of that symbolic representation. It's gone. Dundee. Boom. Now, I've went over water magic in a previous video. All these different steps, how to keep the water. If you listen to any kind of 432 hertz music and you know the difference between 440, which is what the music was changed to, and there's all these concepts about how Hitler changed it to that because it makes people more able to be persuaded, let's say. But if you take that 440 hertz tone and you use that in coordination with, it could be anything. It could be little fucking grains of fucking metal. It could be sand. It could be water. But whenever the bass or the music makes patterns in the water, the 432 is of a harmonious, beautiful pattern, and the 440 is of a destructive nature. This is why 432 hertz is good to harmonize the water in your body. Well, I like to sync up my water, the water magic that I'm doing. So I was, at one time, I'd be playing that music near my temple, and the water would be hearing that music and coming in, whatever. Also, at the same time, that thing I recorded on my recorder, my affirmations. If I'm going somewhere, I can leave that by my altar with my candle, my white candle lit, where the watchers are, and my bottle of water that I'm going to consume later. See, I used to always dump it out on a spot in my yard, the same spot that I burn the rest of the stuff. So basically burning like anything in a rite that can't be burnt away or whatever you have to bury. Well, that same spot where I bury stuff, I'd pour out the water, and it worked as well. It works as well too, but if you can drink the water, that's what most people do. You consume it, so it's gone, but it's within you. You know what I mean? Anyways, doesn't matter. But these are all different magics you can do, and that's how I use affirmations. You can play the affirmations there. Like I said before, I recorded a whole ritual before, and I could play that by my candle, by my altar. You know, it wouldn't be right on my altar, it'd be somewhere in the room. And that's why I like using a recorder and not a cell phone that's got Wi-Fi and a lot of positive ions coming off it. It's just one little recorder using one little AA battery. No Wi-Fi capability, no nothing like that. Still electronic, but you know, not to the same degree. And I'd be playing it in my room. I also go to sleep with that ritual on my head. And so as I'm dreaming, I'm doing a ritual. You know what I mean? These little tips and techniques that you're gonna do, you're gonna go to sleep anyways. You know, you're going to wake up in the morning and be in that state anyways. You know, you're not adding any extra to your life by doing these techniques, and they are amazingly profound and have the ability to create the magic in your life that you're looking for. It's not a hard concept to understand. Because if you look it up, you'll see that your brain automatically goes in those states right before you fall asleep, which is harder to gauge, and right before when you wake up. So when you wake up and you're becoming conscious, you're in this like half awake, half state. Most people go to the bathroom at that point. Well, you can stop yourself and put that recorder on. Now with training, it's going to take a while. First few times you might be already kind of conscious and then doing it. But as you develop that habit of turning that on, it's right beside your bed. First thing you do, put on the earphones, press play. You know what I mean? Then go, it's good to go. You can use your phone for that. But that's how I was using affirmations. But all magic should be followed by those laws with those negative statements. This is proper spell work, basically. Spell work, people think there's these spells, these magic words and all that. And there are more powerful words that you can use. You know, I don't know why I am is so much more powerful than I will. But both those are in the Bible, and most people read the Bible. There's a fuckload of people that believe the Bible is the word of God. And God says, I am that I am. So you have all these minds believing that I am is like what God is. Well, if I'm here saying that we are the gods, okay, then if we use the I am, guess what? You're going to manifest in your life like the God in the Bible that everybody thinks is manifesting. So when you say I am, and whatever comes after that, that's probably one of the reasons it manifests so fast and why it's more powerful. But after that, after those two things, in my experience, the rest of it is just wording your statement of intent correctly and binding down the action not wanted. So whatever you're asking for, you got to specifically say that you don't want the opposite to happen. Because if you didn't word the first part right, then the second part might happen. And if you didn't bind it down, well then, you know, so if you didn't word the first part right, but you at least worded and binded down the action you don't want to happen, meaning, so just use the example of harm-free instead of harm none, because none is a negative word, right? So saying harm none means just harm. It doesn't understand none. It understands what the word none, as in a nun in the church, is, but not nothing. Harm none means nothing to the subconscious mind, the female mind. It's just a fucking negative word. My experience, most people that have used affirmations that say they don't work, it's because they didn't know this one rule, this simple rule that you don't use negative words. Because they would say stuff like I don't want, or don't, or I never get this, and stuff like that, trying to bind down, trying to do magic that is binding down their poverty by using negative words. Harm-free, okay? You use the word harm-free instead of harm none. But and let's say you want a bunch of money and you say harm none. Well, death is probably harmful, but if someone is about to die and they're suffering, well, then it might not be harmful if they die. It might actually be a good thing if they die. And that person has a ton of money, and then this person ends up dying, and you wrote harm-free or harm none, and you're like, well, what the hell? They died. Well, you can also say free from death. Okay, so this way no one has to die for you to get that money. Because magic is like electricity, and it takes the path of least resistance to get to you. Meaning, if you're asking for a shit ton of money, and it has no other way to get to you, and the easiest way is for one of your relatives to pass away, well, then that's what's going to happen. So you need to bind down the action not wanted. You know what I mean? So, for example, if you want love in your life, you want to have a new lover come to you, okay? Well, let's say your best friend's boyfriend you get along with really great. Well, they break up so you can get that boyfriend. You have to bind down that action not wanted. Free from taking anybody's significant other who's already in a relationship, something like that. So you don't steal someone's boyfriend for you to find happiness. Because the odds are, and this is why you don't cast for a specific person either, because if you're casting for love, clearly you haven't been very lucky in finding a partner. So you can't really judge what you think is going to be a good partner. Let the divine mind find that for you. Cast for what you think you might want, the characteristics, but anyways, all that was to say, I just wanted to close out that whole math thing I was talking about, using the laws of math. Look up the laws of math, how when you start adding and minusing negative and positive numbers together, okay, and use those guidelines, I guess, for why you don't use negative speech with something, because an affirmation is already affirming something, so it's already positive. So when you add a negative word to that, it's going to keep it negative, meaning it's not going to happen. Even if your affirmation is not positive, and I don't mean like positivity and love and light, I mean if it's not has a polarity of positive, then it can't impress on the negative mind. You know what I mean? The subconscious mind is already negative. It needs two positives in there. The affirmation is positive, and the statement has to be positive to throw to get into that negative mind, to that female mind. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Is all I was trying to get at with that statement. It's just another way for anybody who likes math to look at it, because there's many ways to look at all this stuff. Sorry about that. One of my fires went out, so I'm in the process of making like an H-trough/fire pit that, you know, when I burn something, it can hang off the side of my altar. And it's in something metal that can't burn or break, so I don't have to keep breaking glass candle holders or ceramic ones, because ceramic eventually goes too once it gets too hot, right? But anyways, supposed to be talking about the Archons, but there was something else I wanted to get into prior to all this, and I can't remember what the fuck it was. Anyways, I'll think about it. Alright, so I'm not sure if I hit on this or not, but when I was talking about Abraham and Sarah versus Zeus and Hera, sorry about that. Alright, I don't know if this thing is still on or not. Let me see. Sorry, every time I forget I have a Bluetooth device connected and I start recording, the sound's not there, and I've done it for half an hour before, and then there's no way to amplify that sound remotely for you guys to hear it. Sometimes if you hear something that's really, really low, why didn't you turn it up? It's like, man, that's full blast. It's because I didn't want to lose what I recorded. Anyways, so I was talking about Abraham and Sarah versus Zeus, okay? And I think I got off topic, but Zeus was sleeping with lots of different goddesses everywhere, whatever the case was, and Hera would get jealous and retaliate. Right? It sounds like probably life back then probably happened to a lot of men. Maybe that went on, so they projected onto the gods. But for the Bible, same story. Abraham has to have a kid, but Sarah can have a kid. So instead of him just fucking around and making kids, okay, what happens is has to get approval from God, or for you guys to not think Abraham's a bad person, because you know. We can go down the road and say you can be polyamorous, you can have many wives, you can, you know, and that's all okay and all that. And if you set those guidelines and the girls or the guys you're sleeping with know that, then I'm okay with that. Do what you want. I personally like being in a committed relationship with my wife and like only sleeping with one person and knowing that we are committed to each other and we don't sleep with anybody else ever. I love that. I love that idea. Okay. Could it be a cruel thing? I don't know. I'm a man after all, and men like to whatever. But in all honesty, been there, slept with women, done it behind people's backs before, and then felt their emotions whenever I broke their heart. And, you know, being someone who feels other people's emotions too much, it was pretty hard. So I don't like to do that to anybody. You know what I mean? I wouldn't do that, especially somebody I love. How could I do that to her, right? Now, if you set those guidelines first, then, you know, that's a whole different ballgame. If everybody's on the same page, then that's that. But to break someone's heart that you love, that's too much. I mean, I would feel like shit. She would feel like shit. Everybody would just feel like shit. It's just not worth it. I can't, personally. But nonetheless, most people have that belief, whether it's programmed from the fucking church or it's just something that we kind of intuitively know that, you know, you should get married and be faithful to only one person. I mean, that's something that's within us, you know, that feels right. That's normal. That's whatever the case is. Who knows? I can't tell you for sure. To me, that feels right. I don't want to sleep with other women. I don't want to be with anybody else. I want to be with my wife only, ever. And the thought of breaking her heart like that breaks my heart. Okay. But that nonetheless, in the Bible, the story that resembles the Zeus story, you know, and I mean, obviously these things aren't the same, apples and oranges or whatever the case is. All I'm trying to make the point was in the Bible for people to be on board while reading this, they had to make it okay from God. And if it's okay from God, then it's okay for everyone. See, yesterday in my video, when I said most people don't like to think that we are gods because it scares them. And people might say, well, why? Why is that a scary thought? Knowing that we create a reality. How is that scary? Because people like the idea that there's a man up there with a plan, keeping divine balance within this realm. If you take that away from them, and we realize that we are the ones creating as we go, and there's really nobody overseeing to make sure no one steps out of line. You know, because I find the new age feel with most people say you create your reality, but there's karma. And if you do something bad, karma's going to get you. It's like, well, that doesn't really make sense, because if we create our reality, but then there's this law of karma that comes after us, well, then we're not really creating a reality, is it? And it's like, well, no, that's not true either. There is cause and effect. For every action has an equal and opposite reaction. I'll just keep it at every action has an opposite reaction, whatever the case is. So everything you do, something happens as a result of it. Meaning, I perform money spell, I get more money, my family is happier. Now, some people like to say, okay, well, you took that money from someone else who was going to get it. So there's enough money for everybody. That doesn't fly with me. That line of thinking. Nor does the karma. Karma is a way of saying that there's some guy up in the sky who's going to bring hell down on you if you fuck over somebody. And it's like, that's still going by your guidelines, your programming, your good and evil, God and devil scale. And it's like most people nowadays are trying to figure that shit out. Everybody looking at conspiracies and to the elites and all that. They have this notion, because if they're a Christian and they're thinking about the elites fucking ruling the world, well, that doesn't make much sense, does it? Because shouldn't have God came down and whipped their ass by now? So they are confused, and that's why they're trying to figure this shit out. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I don't think it's going to serve them, but nonetheless, they're trying to figure it out because they don't understand how they've been programmed to believe in this book where God is going to come back and save everybody, or he's going to come back and kick everybody's ass, or if you're doing bad, you're not in the kingdom in heaven, or if you fuck over too many people, I'm going to bake a fucking flood and just restart. Well, that hasn't happened. We've had in 1947, well, it was 1940, 39 to 45, World War II, where so many Jews were burned alive and killed and raped and tortured, and we haven't had a reset, and that's pretty fucking horrific. So the people are starting to realize that this Bible is full of shit, and it's not coming back. I'm not saying you can't get lessons out of it, but I am saying that what is told in there as fact that's going to happen is not going to happen. The revelation and all these things that were going to happen hasn't happened, and it will not happen. Now, some people say there's some groups out there trying to make the things in the Bible happen. They're trying to, church and state coming together, the third temple in wherever, they're making all these things. It's like, well, we had this Bible for how many years? It's not hard if you have the money and the power to follow these trends. I'm not against any of that, but all I'm trying to say is it's a scary thought for people when they realize that we can create our own reality. You know why? Because that means there's not somebody up there making sure we go in the right direction. Because we can very much fuck this world over. We can very much bring this world down and destroy it. That's why it takes, you have to be smart about it, and that's why most people are in this autopilot that they were programmed as children from their parents, because the world didn't destroy in those years. Therefore, if we keep learning just from our parents in our environment, then everything keeps going as it is. But when people come into this knowledge, then they can take the reins and not the ride. And this is why you can't cast pearls before swine, because if you start giving the wrong people, the sociopath and the psychopath and anybody else this fucking information, well, then they can very much bring this bitch down. Because I'm here to tell you, and I know it's going to piss people off, and I know I'm going to be unpopular about it, we are all part of one main source, and that main source is somewhere, but he's also through all of us right now, in present time, right now. What's going on? He's within all of us, but he's not sitting up in the sky making sure we don't go too far. None of that's happening. Every story there's ever been about an alien coming down and bombing a fucking place whenever they had nuclear bombs and all that shit, trying to show us that, well, we have alien protection up there. I'm here to tell you, I don't buy it, or else they would have stopped Hiroshima. They would have stopped all these other places where the bombs already went off. We're told that they started looking into us at that point, which maybe, I'm not against that idea, and to be completely honest, I liked that idea when I looked into it. And I realized that's why. Knowing that, okay, we have the power to create and change our reality. We have the power to change and create our reality. But what I'm here to say is that the scary thought that we create a reality, that there is no cosmic overlord watching us, making sure we don't step out of line, and there's no place for the people that do really bad things, that they go and burn and die. I know that might be a scary thought to most of you, and it's okay if you don't believe me. If you don't want to believe me, that's fine. You don't need to believe me, and that's okay. You come to whatever truth is for you. You come to whatever belief is important to you. And I'm okay with whatever you believe in. And you can be okay with whatever I believe in, or think I'm full of shit. But I'm telling you, the reason why people have a hard time giving up God, the Bible, is because they like knowing that there's something up there that is going to keep this world in some kind of balance. But
from what's going on now, from what I keep seeing every day and day and day, and the things that I've been able to do in this last 2 years. I've had the most success every time I make a fucking candle. It happens. This last binding I did, I've never binded someone before. This is the first time, and I didn't even do everything in the book. And it happened so quickly. There's more and more proof that I know now that we are in complete control. Like I can't say I've always known it, but I mean, I knew my manifestations were proof to me that I had some control over my reality. And now I know that we all have this control. Like, we all have this. We can all do this. It's not hard. But it scares people because it's like, well, what if? And I gotta tell you, drop that shit. Who cares about the what ifs? We're only here for a lifetime. It's time to enjoy that fucking lifetime. And I'm not saying to go out there and just fucking start slinging fucking spells at people and doing all these different fucking shits just to fucking see what you can do. I'm saying start focusing on what you truly want, or what you think you might want, or the things you might need to handle right now. Maybe you have a lot of debt. Maybe you want to buy a house, but you have too much debt. Maybe all these things, you can have these things cleared up and done, and then you could be on to the next step of your life. It's not very hard. You can do it. We can all do it. It just takes the correct symbolism with your specific programming. And when you get those two things in line, you're going to be able to manifest. So if you're programmed as a Christian, well, you can still use that. But you have to start looking at other mythologies and see how the Christian story is similar to the Greek pantheon, or the Norse, or the Egyptians. And then after a certain period of time, you're going to realize that these things are the same. And once you realize these things are the same, then you're going to realize that the Christian book was a book meant to teach us, just like these other pantheons were. And when you realize that, then you can start manifesting, because all the things that were fact and heaven and hell was real, those things stop being important, and you pulled away from that, and you realize that you're not going to know heaven, or you're not going to know hell. You're most likely going to probably reincarnate. I don't know that for sure, but most likely that's what's going to happen, is you are going to reincarnate and try this all over again, unless you figure it out here in this lifetime. But once you get all those pantheons in your mind, this is the only way I can speak about it, because this is what I did. Anything else I would tell you would just be speculation. But this is exactly what I did after studying all these different deities and using the planetary energy specifically every single day for the last 3 or 4 years now. However long I've been doing my magic for. Because when I was doing just a law of attraction stuff, which I manifested with just a single statement. It was like a page and a half long, but it was still a big statement. And I walked around with that fucker in my pocket every fucking day. Kind of like what Earl Nightingale says to do. And it's phenomenal. You should listen to it on The Stranger's Secret. And it's not The Secret as in, the movie The Secret. All he says is he gives you the proof of how our mind creates our reality, and what you focus on expands, basically. He tells you to write down something you want, leave it in your pocket, and every day you look at it. Every day you look at it. You have to do it for 30 days in a row, because it takes 21 days to create a fucking new habit, right? But he says do it for 30 days in a row, and that thing will start to happen and change in your life. Well, I did that. But I mean, after that, I used specifically the planetary energies. And then every deity I searched up after, because I was learning about astrology. Learning about astrology, you end up hitting on all the myths and finding the correspondences. Well, then why does Jupiter correspond to all these things? And you come to find out, it's like, well, because in this pantheon, this was the equivalent of Jupiter, and it's all wrapped up into that one planet, and that one energy is also within you, and you can use that energy to your benefit, and we can change this world. Problem is, we all have a different way to change it. We all probably want similar things. We all want to be prosperous. We all want our families to probably do well and get what they want. We probably want other people to do just as well as us, maybe not too much, but maybe not too less, and different things like that. But we all have a different way, a different idea of how we should get there. And then you have the people that think that their way is the ultimate way, and they can't understand anybody not agreeing with them. And those are the people that have to fucking go or change. But for most of us, if we can get on board and say, hey, we both want the same thing, but we only disagree on how to get there, well then let's just agree to disagree, since ultimately we agree on the same thing, and let's work on getting it there. I'll do my personal way in my personal life, you do your personal way in your personal life, and depending on who gets there faster, and if the other person wants to decide that, no, I'm going to change my way and do your way, or I'll stick to my way because I think it's going to work, then so be it. And we all just fix our own lives. because we're all the microcosm to the macrocosm up there. That macrocosm has been deified as God in the Bible or all these other gods. But he's not up there. He's within you. He's within everybody. And you can be that creator that the Bible is speaking about, that all these other pantheons are speaking about. I am that I am. Right, I am grateful that I'm fucking wealthy and have more money than I can spend in this lifetime. Start writing that every day and see what happens. You know, that's kind of a stretch. I'd start smaller, but I'm just saying. We are the God. We are all part of God. I'm not God. You're not God. But together we all form God. Therefore, we can all create this realm because he's working through us. Can't tell you if people start doing bad magic, if it's going to affect everything and bring this bitch down. I can't tell you that. But I'm not scared about sharing this information with those who are responsible and deserve to have this information. I'm not going to suppress it because there might be some crazies out there that might take it and bring it into the ground. I believe that there's going to be enough good ones of us that are going to help lift people out of prosperity and get them off the conspiracy junk and all that shit, and the ability to empower themselves. Because I'm telling you, that's all that conspiracy junk is there for. It's like, okay, if you believe in God, then how come all this bad stuff's happening? And then it breaks down your belief in God. And this is why I say it's always the beginning part. It's the root chakra opening. It's what gets you into spirituality. Because as soon as you break down God and realize that there's no God up there giving out divine order, and here's all your proof, all these bad things have happened in the world, and God has allowed it to happen. Why is that? Once you get rid of those blinders, you shoot that out, and then it hits you, okay, maybe there is no God. And then you get into this Illuminati, conspiracy, reptilian bullshit for a while. But most of the time, you get out of there, and then you start climbing up the proper ladder. And then you realize that stuff is all just horseshit too. And then you're able to see that, okay, things aren't as bad as they say it is, but it's not as good as some people are saying it is either. And then from there, you just realize if you fix your own life, then you will fix everybody's life as a result. If everybody stopped focusing on trying to fix other people's problems and just fix their own, then everything would be fixed because everybody would be fixing their own fucking problems. Therefore, there'd be no problems left. But people try to pretend that their life is great and try to fix other fuckers' problems when they're not fixing their own. And that's where lies the problem. That person's like, well, why are you telling me to fix my life? Your life's fucked. And these people fight, and then they get tied up in fighting each other instead of just fixing their own fucking lives. If everybody just went around fixing their own fucking life, we'd be fine. That's all we need to do. And it starts with you. So go fucking do it. Have a good day.